I, 28 male, have been dating this girl Amy, 29, for 2 years. We met through a mutual friend and things were going well up until a few days ago. Amy has 2 kids from a previous relationship, twin boys that are pre-tweens now. I get along great with them. Amy and I discussed moving in together and how that would all work out with the kids. Things didn't seem like a problem till she asked if we could find a place where I could afford to pay rent on my own in case she becomes a stay-at-home mom. I asked in what instance she would become a stay-at-home mom when we aren't planning on having more kids, and I got a vasectomy 2 years ago that she knows of. She said it's always been her dream to be a stay-at-home mom for her kids, and the boys will benefit a lot from always having her home. She said she knows it'll be a lot for me to take on, but she would appreciate it if we could talk about it and possibly make it happen as soon as we move in together. We discussed it, and I told her I was honestly uncomfortable with the idea of being the sole breadwinner for our 4-person household. I could afford rent on my own, but groceries, bills, stuff the kids will need, etc., I can't afford all that, and if I could make it work, that would leave nothing for savings. I also said the boys are in school most of the day, and although I agree that any child will significantly benefit from having a parent available 24/7, I don't think it's a necessity. I also told her I'd be stressed out having them all rely on me. She said she understood and that it was okay. We didn't speak about it again. Her mom called me about a week after I discussed it with her. Her mom started the conversation sweet enough before getting to the point. She asked why I decided to date a single mother if I was unwilling to step up for her and her kids. This kind of made me angry. I didn't know deciding to date a single mom meant I'd have to happily be financially responsible for them all. I told her, with all due respect, this was between Amy and me. She said Amy won't have more kids because she's with me and this is her only chance of being completely devoted to her kids. And although I can easily afford it, I'm being stingy because I simply can't be bothered to make a sacrifice. My blood was boiling and I wasn't trying to say something rude back. I told her it wasn't her business and cut the call. I spoke to Amy and asked her what the heck her mom was on about. She said she needed someone to vent to about the situation and her mum just had her best interest at heart. She said she thought it would be better for me to get her mum's perspective and then decide. I asked if it would be okay to tell my mom that my girlfriend was asking me to bankroll her and her children's lives and watch my mom call her names for it. She said I was taking things too personally and should have expected things not to go great after our discussion. I'm at a loss here. Edit. For everyone asking about the children's dad and if he pays child support, he isn't a bad person, he's just broke and lives halfway across the world. He couldn't pay child support if he wanted to, given that he can barely care for himself financially. He also has a lot of health issues that make it difficult for him to work. He calls the kids often and is as involved as one can be in his situation. She makes enough to care for herself and her kids, so it's been okay for them financially. Wow, the audacity! Since you're happy to play with my kids, now pay for them. Oh, and me too. Why? Because I said so. Not the idiot, but you realise she plans to make this happen whether you agree or not, right? You'll move in together and she'll get let go, then have trouble finding a job. This is how it sounds to me too. She already decided not to work and she has a meal ticket, and right now she's just in the process of making it happen one way or the other. Also, the last line about, you should have expected that things would not go great when you make me angry. Damn, that statement alone would give me serious pause about continuing a relationship with someone. Delta out of there, mate. This will not end well, for you at least. She's trying to use you for your finances, and if she wants to be a stay-at-home mom, tell her to get more child support from baby daddy. Lol. Yep, all of this. She's a hot mess, and getting mommy on board to shame OP. She just wants free time. Her kids are in school. How much time is going to be spent just watching TV? You can stream every reality TV show these days, so she has years worth of content there. Dude, her mom can finance her stay-at-home dream. I, 33 male, and my girlfriend, 27, have been living together for about a year, together for 2. Since we've been together, she's always had this hobby of making dice for TTRPGs. I don't really understand how it works because I'm not into it, but the dice she makes are beautiful, even to someone who doesn't understand. She's always sold them. She takes a long weekend every fortnight and mass produces 20 or so full sets, and then she sells them. They always sell out pretty instantly, and I knew she made some money, but not how much, and to be honest, I don't really care as long as she pays her half of the bills, which she always does. Unfortunately, after making them this past weekend, she broke her wrist, and she needs help to put her listings up because she can't type well. I found out that she sells them for £100 to £115. I expressed my surprise that people spend that much on these things. She was offended, and I tried to explain that I didn't mean it like that, and I just don't understand why people spend that amount of money on things like this. It wasn't supposed to be an insult to her artistry. She was upset and ended up asking someone else to help her and expressed how hurt she was because she worked so hard on them. She hasn't been silent, but is definitely withdrawn, and things aren't the same. I can tell she's upset with me, and her sister keeps calling me an idiot. Am I the idiot here? You are the idiot, and here's why. You called it a hobby, and you didn't even know how much she sells them for, how it works, or even look at her store. This isn't about your single comment. This is a long 2 years of her belittling her business. It's her job. Whether you've meant to or not, like, bro, 2 years and you never looked? Not even once? Bruh. Right, like she makes dice every other week. That's a lot of dice over 2 years. He's never asked questions once, never looked at her online listings once or gone to a craft fair with her once. If they'd had this conversation 18 months ago, it would be different, but it's been 2 years, and he doesn't know anything about her business at all. Selling out immediately also means she's really good at what she does. I disagree. Sounds like a normal foot-in-mouth moment. Not the idiot, OP. I totally get what you meant. You didn't know there was a demand for a high-value bespoke dice market. I can't understand people paying hundreds of dollars for Legos. It's nothing I've ever cared about. It's the same with concerts. I'm not a huge music person, so spending a ton of money to go to a concert seems bizarre and wasteful to me. That doesn't mean I don't recognize singers' talents as artists, or that Legos can be amazing. It just means I don't get it. 42 male, wives 40, family is Mexican, and they follow a tradition of holding a big party for girls who are turning 15. It's called a quinceañera. That wasn't part of my culture, and I never understood the point of spending so much money on a party anyway, but we did save up for a while to throw my daughter one, until my daughter herself said a few months ago that she doesn't want a party and would prefer to spend that money on a trip. It will be a 30-day supervised tour of Europe with a group of teenagers, including some school friends. Here's the thing. My daughter has a twin brother. Of course, my son wouldn't get a quinceañera even though they celebrate their birthday on the same day because the party is just for girls. But since the party turned into a birthday trip, he's upset and feeling left out. I tried to explain to him I'm not so financially comfortable right now to send both of them. I could find a way, but I honestly don't want to spend anything beyond the quinceañera fund. He lashed out and told me his mother and I always favour his sister over him, which is very unfair. I then told him my father never paid for any of my trips, and the first time I went abroad, I was already an adult and did it with my own money. If that's what he wants, I suggested maybe he could look for a job. I get that I was harsh, but his sense of entitlement threw me off. Am I the idiot for agreeing to the trip or where he'd stay behind? You are the idiot. It's not his fault there's a tradition catered to women. He's also celebrating a birthday and deserves to be recognised. How can you send her on an extravagant trip and say he's entitled to want the same? Send one kid or send neither. That's hugely unfair to him. Why does she get money and trip and he has to get a job? That's not even logical. Easy way to understand the problem, the money was for the tradition, not for the daughter. If she doesn't want the tradition, that money should be split between the two, either for a college fund or for whatever, but split it as it's not cultural anymore. This is how you show love and devotion to both your children. Dude, you think spending money on a party is wasteful, so you decide to send your daughter on a month-long trip instead. You tried to explain to your son that you couldn't afford to send him on holiday as well, then say you actually can afford it, you just don't want to. Then you suggest an underage child gets a job if he wants to be treated equally to his sister. Your annoyance at your son's sense of entitlement is comical, as he's rightfully entitled to equality. Despite all this, you think his assertion that you favour his sister is unfair when your whole story details how you favour his sister. Are you doing anything special for your son's birthday at all? You know, at least just the one day when it's his actual birthday, not the 364 days your daughter's getting. If your favouritism is this obvious to strangers, I really feel bad for your son. 3 weeks ago, after several years of no contact, my maternal aunts, both in their early 40s, reached out and asked to catch up. They made the same offer to my brother, but he turned them down. I was curious to hear what they had to say, so I met up with them. I hadn't seen them since I was 11-ish. I'm now 22. We met up and they told me that my half-siblings had ended up in the care of one of my aunts last year after having a crappy time in foster care. The background is my mom cheated on my dad during their marriage. She got pregnant after me and thought the baby was his until she was 7 months pregnant. They broke up and she moved in with the other man. My brother and I were young then, but not so young that we couldn't put things together. My mom ended up having 2 kids with the other man. He died suddenly when the kids were babies. Mom died when I was 11. She died of an asthma attack. The kids' paternal family wanted nothing to do with them and refused to take custody. My aunts were my mom's only family, and they both had young families at the time and didn't feel like they could take on 2 additional children who were so young. My dad was also asked and he didn't take them either. So the kids went into foster care. They were never adopted and didn't end up with good families. My brother and I never saw them after Mom died, and we didn't see our aunts afterward either because they were so mad at our dad that things became too toxic. My brother and I never resented or blamed or hated our dad for not taking our half-siblings. Heck, we didn't even really miss seeing them. We didn't bond with them while Mom was alive, and we weren't even that close to Mom after the affair and her moving in with the other man. My aunts have hated my dad all these years for not stepping up, keeping the 4 of us together and giving the kids a loving home. They said they couldn't do it and they hated that, but pointed out that our dad had money, had the space in his home and could have, but he wanted to punish the kids for our mom's actions. They said it was evil what he did. They were intense about their hatred of him and made it clear they were reaching out because they thought my brother and I would hate him too and would be part of the family with our half-siblings. Not being interested in that and not liking how they talked about my dad, I told them they should stop taking their guilt out on my dad and accept that my dad was the last person who had any obligation to the kids. My aunts were like, "How could you say that over your poor little siblings? And didn't I hate what happened to them and miss them and wish I'd had them in my life?" They asked how I could say he had no obligation when he was mine and my brother's dad, and he was the reason we were separated from our 2 younger siblings. I left and they texted me after saying the same stuff and saying how awful it was that I had that attitude. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your aunts are ridiculous Delulu lemons. You are 100% correct here. Your mom cheated and got caught. She moved in with the guy she cheated on with your dad and had 2 kids. Your dad had 0 responsibility for those kids. Is their situation sad and do I feel bad for them? Of course. Is their situation your dad's fault? Absolutely not. In any way. Your mom was the one who stepped out on your dad. Your mom was the one who broke up your family, not your dad. To imply otherwise is absurd and delusional. They just expected your dad to take in 2 kids that weren't his because... What? And where's the paternal family of those kids, though? They did have an obligation and said no, and that's okay with your aunts? Why? This is more about the fact that your aunts resent your dad for not staying with your mom than it is about those kids. But why have they suddenly resurfaced and want to catch up? There has to be another reason why they're all up and want to make friends. Money? Favours? Your aunts are delusional and your brother had the right idea. Block their numbers and move on with your life free of their crap. It's not your circus, so why buy a ticket? In my family, there are a lot of child-free people. I just don't understand them. I don't understand why someone would have a problem with those adorable little humans. Most of the weddings in my family are child-free, and when people found out I was not planning a child-free wedding, they kept calling me and asking me to reconsider because they didn't want their nights to be ruined by kids. It was very annoying to us, so my fiancé and I decided since they couldn't handle being in the same place as kids, and since we wanted the kids to be at our wedding, we wanted to have a wedding free of any child-free people. Now they're mad that they got uninvited and think we're idiots, but I think if it's okay to exclude kids, then it's also okay to exclude adults. Am I the idiot for throwing a child-free free wedding? Edit, I didn't uninvite all people without kids. I just uninvited those child-free people who make it their whole personality. Not the idiot. I admire your logic. I agree with you. Children make a wedding. They kept calling me and asking me to reconsider because they didn't want their nights to be ruined by kids. It's not their night. It's yours. Your question is oddly phrased, and you only want to invite people who prove that their collective ovaries and vas deferens work. No, that's not strange at all. You are the idiot, OP. You sound like the type of person who would think their kid is special and can do no wrong. Insufferable. Enjoy your daycare wedding. I bet they're quite relieved to be uninvited because, to be honest, you sound like a nightmare. I mean, your wedding, your choice, but the motivation behind the choice seems kind of petty and spiteful, and logically wrong. Kids can ruin an adult evening. Adults will not ruin a kid's evening. It's like saying, all Floridians are Americans, therefore all Americans are Floridians. Given that you're burning many bridges and annoying people for no other reason than your own smug satisfaction, it seems like you're outsmarting yourself on this one. Some of you are missing the point of this. OP was fine inviting anyone until people of a certain mindset started telling them who they can and cannot have at their wedding. That's when OP decided to say, well, if you want to not be around kids, then you aren't invited. It isn't really about your personal opinion of kids. What makes OP not the idiot is that they refuse to bow to pressure.